Okay, on this video, we're going to talk about how to target just about any competitor that you have. Well, let's just say all competitors that you have in your market that are right now stealing customers that you want, or clients or patients or whatever you want to call it. They have a Facebook page and have Facebook followers. How you're going to be able to target those people with an ad. This same thing technically will happen be possible with targeting people that are in a group, just with a minor twist to it. But respectively, you have a list of your competitor has a list of followers, which may be just prospects. Maybe they're actually customers. If you have repeat, purchases in your market that you're in, it definitely could be, good, dedicated, loyal buyers to that competitor. We're going to figure out how we can get an ad in front of just those people, because that's basically the number one most important thing we can do on Facebook in terms of ROI generating campaigns, highest ROI generating campaigns. But I'm going to tell you how to do it, how to target the smaller competitors, customers or slash prospects, depending, maybe they're a prospect they haven't bought yet, maybe they're already a repeat or a regular buyer on Facebook. Given that it's not easy to do all the time, sometimes if you're targeting a very large competitor, it's easy to do. But the smaller ones specifically, and the reason for this, I made this video was to tell you how to target any size competitor, because it's harder to do on the smaller ones. So it doesn't matter who it is, you'll be able to target them. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to start with a background as I usually do on this video, and then I'm going to get into the strategy on how you can do this, how you can advertise to our other competitors' customers or prospects, if and as long as they're on some sort of, the following list of that particular competitor itself. So anyway, targeting larger competitors, i.e. competitors that have at least 10,000 followers, is very easy. They normally show up as an audience under the targeted audience menu in Facebook ads ad interface. So in other words, what I'm trying to say here is, if you're familiar with Google Ads now, there's a section when you go to set up a campaign or ad group, it'll ask you where you want to target the ad to, right? And then you could do interests, you can do different activity stuff. There's different preset quote unquote audience that you could target. With that, if you have a competitor that's mostly, this isn't a clear cut thing, but if they got more than 10,000 followers, it'll let you actually target that competitor, given it has a big enough audience there within it for Facebook to have wasted their time setting up an audience for you to specifically target. Okay, and so with that said, again, like I said, so most people, they go to target a competitor, they try to follow the instructions other marketers give them to do that. They go and type their competitor name in under the audience menu there, under targeting, audience targeting, and they're bummed out because they can't find their competitor there. They're not big enough. They only do the big ones. And so this method, though, right here is going to get you, I don't care what size they are, you're going to be able to get in front of them. It will take a little bit more manual work, but anybody can do this, and it's not complicated at all. It just takes a little bit more time. Not as easy as point, click, okay, I'm done. And then automatically that list is, if you get a new follower to a competitor that's listed there already, automatically your ad gets in front of them. Whereas this, every time you have a new follower on your smaller competitors' follower list that's not automatically in the audience targeting settings, you're going to have to do something each and every time. Technically, a computer script could actually execute this and automate this. I'll talk briefly about that, but respectively, 99% of people, they'll just do this manually. Or at least until you know that it's a staple of your entire marketing strategy that just works and you're tired of doing it already. So anyway, however, there is still a way to target smaller competitors there that on Facebook that most people don't know about or how to do today. I'd say, less than 5% for sure, or probably less than 1% to be, realistic here, know about how to target the smaller competitors. And that is through using a manual approach to targeting or creating your own audience out of it. So in other words, you're going to create your own audience, a custom audience that's supposed to target that competitor. It could be one audience that you make for all competitors, or you could make an audience for each competitor itself. Depending on your situation, you could split it up or not split it up. But you're going to create your own audience that you're going to essentially just label, competitor. So whereas a bigger competitor, it'll just say the name of the competitor as an audience in the audience targeting settings. Now you're going to have your own custom audience that's going to have that. It'll behave exactly the same way, but you had to manually create yourself. So anyway, how do we actually do this? This is the system that I use to do it, in which anybody can do this if this is your goal, what you want to do for your Facebook campaign. And realistically, guys, if you have not done this yet and you're running Facebook ads, you will absolutely want to do this, or try it out, see how it works for you. 90+% will probably generate for you the ROI, or a better even ROI than what you have right now, no matter what else you're doing, because it doesn't get any more relevant than all of the money that your competitor has spent to generate interest, just simply interjecting yourself in that exact person who already is in market and already buys what you're selling. And the holy grail of advertising is if you could get in front of your competitor's buyer already, then you don't have to argue about the merit and validity of your system. It's just you have to make a slightly better, compelling argument why your version is a little bit better than theirs, and you got them. It takes less effort, therefore less money, less time to get a customer, higher ROI. So anyway, here's the system. Go to your competitor's FB page. So pretty self-explanatory. You have your list of competitors. If they're on, sometimes they're not on Facebook, but anymore, obviously most people will. And technically, this also, if they're not on Facebook, they're on LinkedIn. And you could do the same thing there on LinkedIn as this system works on Facebook. It's almost the same. Next, you got on your competitor's FB page, right-click on the user profile photo to reveal their user ID. If you're on LinkedIn, since they don't, or if they don't have a Facebook page, what you do is you go to the Facebook page itself of the. So you have to go to the Facebook page. So as mentioning here, you have to go to the Facebook page, go under followers, and then show all the followers. And then you have to go to each individual follower's page, right click on their user ID, get their user ID, just to be more specific on number 2 here. On LinkedIn, if they don't do Facebook, but that company, that competitor does LinkedIn, it's the same thing. You go to their follower page, reveal, show all followers, go to the follower itself, right-click, view source, search through for the user ID there as well. Okay. Next, once you got the user ID, create custom audience with lists of user IDs. So you can go ahead and Google if you need to how to create a custom audience. It's a staple of a lot of top, Facebook marketers out there. They're doing this. Realistically, you should always be targeting the audiences that are higher to be likely to be ROI first. You start with current customers. You extract as much LTV or lifetime value or revenue out of that audience as you can, marketing on Facebook. And then you go to people that have been to your site and aren't a customer yet. Extract everything you can out of that. Then go to your competitors' buyers and try to get what you can out of that. Then go to of course, the next thing, which would be realistically, people that have the interests of people that are your most common buyers. If you look at all your buyers, you see a common trait between them all. Then you target people in that specific area, or you get the general idea. But you don't start with the hard stuff. And if you make the bottom of the funnel, if you will, more efficient, then when you do the harder stuff, it'll work better, more likely to work, less trouble to get to work. But you create a custom audience in this case, so assuming we're at the position where we should be, where we're targeting our competitors' customer lists, you create a custom audience and you put all these user IDs that you found from the previous step in there. And you got to have at least 100 user IDs to make a custom audience, because Facebook doesn't want you to target users individually and say like something stupid like, "Hey John, hey, I know you're a follower of XYZ Corp. You know what? They suck. You should use us," because it's too creepy. There's a way around that. If you don't have 100, it's very gray or black hat if you want to call it that. But let's just say I know it works. That you go ahead and you put a random other user IDs in there, dummy. Like if you have 10 user IDs and you need to reach 100, put 90 dummy ones in there. And yes, it'll make your advertising less efficient. Realistically, just use inactive user IDs. That way, when your ad shows up, they won't click on it. They'll to muddy up your data or anything like that. But that's one way around it. But you got to have 100. For the most part, obviously, you'll find 100 IDs, so it doesn't matter. But you create the custom audience. Once you've done that, you're done. You now have an audience when you go to set up your campaign in the audience targeting menu. Instead of freely finding that competitor that has over 10,000 followers that's auto-propagated by Facebook there, now you can go under custom audiences as your targeting option that you want to go with. Click on your custom audience that you have now labeled competitors, customers, or the name of the competitor and then customers, because you're targeting. You've broken it out into individual customer lists of each competitor. Then you're set up now to advertise to your competitors' customers and or prospects, depending on if they've bought yet or haven't bought. People that follow people's pages, sometimes they haven't bought. People don't realize that. Sometimes they have. And obviously in different markets, to determine whether it's mostly prospects or customers. But respectively, even if somebody's bought and they usually only buy one time, like you're selling a mattress, you could still go after them. A lot of times, somebody who's bought one, they'll buy two, even though they're, it's and can be a higher ROI opportunity there than it is to go after somebody who you don't even know is going to buy a mattress because you don't know if they're willing to pay for that amount of price or whatever, and they were just they were tagged as interested, but they were just doing some basic research, so on and so forth. I would prefer to go after the person who's like the competitor first. It has generally a higher ROI. But anyway, you get the general idea and the gist of all this. Now, Corey, or you're asking yourself, Corey, but how do I actually advertise to a competitor customer to convince them to come over to me when they probably they're satisfied and obviously already trust the competitor if they like their page? Well, it's very simple for me. There's three different types of offers that I use in these type of campaigns that routinely work. So you can decide though what works for you, or realistically, like I've always said in my different videos, you try everything. You test everything, find out what works, because you work too hard delivering what you do to, with that, to have your margins cut, because you won't simply run a test to run a different offer and see if that works better. Well, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because it's easier to run an ad test than it is to make an operational improvement in your business. Or hire an employee who can do what you do to leverage your time, that kind of thing. Anyway, here's the ads that typically work for me. $100 off with so basically you offer a mattress. You're targeting your competitors who sell mattresses, the people that follow their page. I have an ad that shows up that says, our mattress is $100 off. Here's a $100 off discount code. This is only good for 30 days. And it's like, okay, well, if they were considering buying a mattress, now I have a strong shot at getting them to click on that ad. And then now I got them to the site. We're seducing them slowly. They're like, holy crap, $100 off. That's sweet. Excuse me. And then they get to your site. And if you're going to be ultra efficient about it, you're not going to send them directly to a product page. Or if maybe, unless the product page is better, but you're going to send them to a sales page that explains the product, top to bottom. Then you're going to have a link at the bottom to go to the regular product page on your e-commerce site. Obviously, if you're doing services, this is potentially not the way to go. If you're doing B2B services, though regular like home services, stuff like that, it obviously, it definitely does work to do a discount code. You could say, first-time customers are paying $50. So ultimately, let's just say it's a cleaning service. If I'm already pissed off at the cleaning company because they're doing a shit job, and I'm kind of teetering on the edge, I've liked that company before, but since I've liked the company, nobody goes and unlikes a page even if they're pissed off slightly, right? Now I got an ad from somebody that's going to say $50, and they're like, I could spend that $50 on a steak at the restaurant if I just switch. I wanted to switch. Now there's a good reason to switch now, not to procrastinate. If you don't have urgency built into your offer, it's not going to work as good. If you say it's going to be $50 off this month, they're thinking, if I don't write this down and act on this now, first of all, I'll potentially forget the discount code. But two, I wanted to switch, and if I wait till next month, I'm not going to get the $50. So I better switch now. So get the general gist of how this could work for a service company. So that's that. And then, of course, you're saying also to probably to yourself, $100 off, I can't do that. That's all my profit margin. What other people are doing, not technically, this is very gray area. I don't recommend you do this. This is on you. But I've seen other people that I've worked with that will just mark the product up $100 and then use this $100 off offer as a way to drive generally 90% of their marketing. So instead of going after people that are just maybe the researching and interested in my product, I'm just going to go after people who are already, interested in my competitors, since it's, more efficient or efficient enough to work well. And so I don't have to really do much to get them to buy. They're just, again, we're making just a slightly better argument. They're already pre-sold. And with that, I'll mark the product up $100 on my site, and that's my whole revenue generation scheme. I don't do too much other stuff. If you're doing this, you could send them to a dedicated landing page instead of your main site, so that only people from this campaign can see your landing page that has your sales page and says $100 off this month, and then has the discount code on it, and respectively, then you can essentially create a second site, if you will. So you have your main site, but you have this page. On this page, it says $100 off, but it has a higher price point, and if they buy, you got to keep them on the second site, so that way you can mark up $100. Now that's kind of sketchy, but you get the general idea here of what I'm saying. Anyway, the second ad type you can do is a product comparison. So if you create separate custom audience lists for each competitor's followers, like I said, is an option for you to do before, then what I'm going to do, if realistically price is less of an issue, and we were talking about quality, so in a B2B capacity where quality matters more, but it could be anything else, I'll just make a direct side-by-side comparison. I've actually had where it was a drill where we would have this drill versus this drill, and it would send the user to an article that would compare the two. Okay, so obviously people are going to have their guard up, and they're going to think information that you produce, if you're doing a side-by-side test like that, you send out to a blog post that has that information on there. However, it does still actually work. Not quite as much as if you had somebody else do it, but even if you do the side-by-side test yourself, it's fine. Video is a great way to get rid of any hesitancy, because you could literally, like on a drill, you could do, drop it. They can see. There's no way to hide or obfuscate what the reality of the situation is there. And for the user who is in market for a drill, you just gave them the perfect thing for them to spend their time on. Yes, I want to see how it'll hold up. And then, so I was looking at this drill. I'm going to see it dropped. I was already interested in that drill. While I see that, now I see it. The drill I wanted was shit because it broke apart when I dropped it. But this other drill doesn't break apart when I drop it. Now I'm interested in this other drill. You see how this works? So you get the general idea. Then you create a side-by-side. You do it for one drill, find out it works. And then you have competitors' drills. You might have 10 other competitors' drills. And you do the same thing to each drill. And you have a separate funnel, a separate ad that shows side-by-side this drill versus this drill. And then you do the same thing, sending them to a video for each drill, showing a drop test for each drill, so that, because it's got to be relevant like that for people to care. You can't say drills compared, like your click-through rate and therefore your ROI is going to be like a third or 25% as saying the drill you were interested in versus this drill, and talk about the specific weaknesses that has versus another product that's like it. Same thing for services. If you know your competitor's service is a ripoff, explain why it's a ripoff. Some people say that's unethical. I call it that baloney. If your competitor's ripping people off, the consumer has the right to know, and just as long as you don't lie, and then tell them why it's a ripoff and how to avoid it, which is to hire somebody who doesn't do that ripoff shit. Pardon my French, but you get the idea. Anyway, moving on, the third type of ad I use for this competitor ads, by the way, is an independent review. So basically what you do is you get a third party to review what you're doing. What a competitor says about you is 4 times as strong as what you could say about yourself. So if you could get your product sent to an influencer to test it, then what I'm going to do then is not so much a side-by-side here. Which you could do a side-by-side and actually have the influencer test both products, which would be an even better way to do things, and then split things up, so that you have a funnel for each competitor and side-by-side for each competitor, like I talked about in the previous system here, or ad type here that you can use. But for the independent review, I'm just talking about if there's a review site that reviews mattresses, and I sell a mattress, I'm sending my mattress into that company, I'm having them review it, and then I'm going to have an ad that says I got a 5-star review at mattressreviews.com, and I'm sending them to that article because it's 4 times as likely to convince the buyer than something I can say. Then that will probably be enough to actually get the whole ad to be profitable for me when I actually do it, versus saying 5-star, our mattress is awesome on our site. Just a way to, you're always looking for an edge. This is just a way to get an edge. But like I said, it can be an influencer. You give the product to the influencer, have them test it. Say XYZ influencer tests the product and says it's an amazing product. So for me, I'm going to realistically what I'm doing here, because this audience, our follower list of our competitors, is so profitable, respectively, and there's only so much pie to grab there, that I'm going to have each of these going realistically, if I can, and once they click on one, I'm going to have a remarketing ad show up for the other 2, so they end up seeing all 3 as long as they click on one. So I could just milk as much as I can from our competitor audiences as I can. And like I said, there's different companies where I've worked with where they don't even go after using like lookalike targeting and stuff, because it's not as profitable. It's just going after the competitors' audiences because they needed that. The ROI is just not quite good enough, but when they go after the competitors' audiences, it is. And so with that, they'll just create a chain where they'll have all 3 ads show up. One will get their attention potentially, and once they've seen one, well, then the other 2 now become more likely to be clicked on, and then so that you're creating a little funnel for yourself, and so you're just throwing out bait, hoping they click on one. Then you're going to kind of keep following up with them so that you drill in the head that you're actually better, and then now you got a customer. So anyway, that's the whole thing. I hope you enjoyed the video as usual. I have a ton of other videos on this channel that are similar. I talk about different PPC money-making strategies. You should check those out. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog that has different step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I do it for our clients here to guarantee their results. It's also very interesting, and if you have any questions or comments, leave me a comment down below. I'll get back to you. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel. Other than that, hope you go out and try something like this. It really does work, and hope you can make some money from it.